Hey, welcome to another great episode of Mississippi Stories. I'm your host, Marshall Ramsey, editor at large at Mississippi Today. You can check us out at MississippiToday.org. Love our guest today. Has been around, I guess, pretty much making things happen in Jackson for as long as I've lived here. Started out, I guess, first time he was on my radar, he was cooking, I think, at Bravo, if I remember correctly. But he's gone around to a few hotels. You see him on cooking shows, you see him winning cooking shows, you see him giving back to the community. Very happy to have Nick Wallace here today. Of course, he is a Fire Masters champ, which is pretty darn cool as well. Nick, today you opened up the Nissan Cafe at the two museums, so congratulations, and I appreciate you being able to have some time to be able to talk to me today, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know how you get your energy, but if you ever bottle it, I'll buy a case.
All right, sounds good. I'll ship you some.
Okay, sounds like a deal. Hey, congrats though on the Nissan Cafe. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the Nissan Cafe is kind of a 3-year story. So when the museum was almost time to get open, probably 6 months before they opened, I got a call from Holly Lang, and Holly Lang wanted to let me spearhead all the culinary food for the opening. You know, the president of the United States was going to be here, so it was a lot of pressure,
Yeah,
and plus that, it was 3,000 people.
right.
So I was coming off of pretty much opening my catering company at that point, and it was snowing that year too. So we put up a huge effort. We had the culinary school. I brought them down. Their instructor and their whole team, all the students, they came down and they joined me with forces to do this and feed 3,000 people. So once I got inside the two museums, I just loved it, like everything about it. You know, walking through the civil rights side and walking through the history side. And I just believe, every step that we take, it has to be some type of a good story, and we just need to have a reaching goal. So I have been eyeballing that space ever since. And I have been pretty persistent because I do a lot of events there. And so I got the opportunity to speak to the board again. Got an opportunity to speak to Tate Reeves because it's a state-owned building,
Yeah.
and then it was my time. The pandemic kind of pretty much freed the space up for me to create a concept to put in there, and it's been fun. We've been open for about 2 weeks. Today was the official grand opening, and I run about a staff of about 6 in there, and that's completely different than what they're used to. What they're used to is pretty much 1 to 2 people, so really not culinary focused there.
Yeah.
Really just grab and go, and that's okay. But like right now, we're doing cooking. The fortunate thing is, I have a kitchen in Midtown, and it's about 3-4 thousand square feet, somewhere up in there, and it's the workhorse for all the catering. So it's also the workhorse for the Nissan Cafe. So we make all the batches of gumbos, all the fermenting, all the pickling, all that stuff there. We make there, bring it over to the cafe to run our service there. And we're open 6 days a week, breakfast and lunch mostly, but not on Sunday. Sunday is only lunch focused. And I want to be open for a few weeks or even like a month before we get into like a pop up and maybe having Sunday brunch. We're going to do some fun stuff there. So I'm very fortunate. My team is very fortunate. Everybody's happy. It's a lot of smiles on folks' face.
I know when I heard that you were going to be in there, I thought, what a perfect fit. Number one, I mean, I love the folks over there. I mean, I just spoke over there the other day, and I mean, you're right. It is a crown jewel in Mississippi to have those museums, and the fact that we can tell our story so honestly and so beautifully and so powerfully. I mean, it's a great fit to have you in there too. But it's also nice knowing there's food in there also, because when you go in there, you're spending some time, and it's nice to get a snack. You said that your kitchen's in Midtown. Where about is that?
So it's in the same space. So Midtown have this entrepreneur like incubator,
Yeah.
uh, and they have a few in Midtown. And Midtown Partners is it's just totally wonderful. I'm in the same building as Mississippi Cold Drip Coffee.
Gotcha.
They have one side, and I have the other side, and it's called the Hatch. It's on Kenner Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I run that, and the synergy just there alone, it's
Mhm.
just so like I call that whole area like it's like a rooted kind of lifestyle, man.
Yeah.
No crime pretty much is over there. They have the Midtown has a charter school. It's just great. You have the coffee houses there. You got Roger Gred. He's there shooting away with his studio. It's just a lot of amazing things. It's a lot of possibilities too.
Yeah, isn't that when you're around other people that are entrepreneurs and have got visions and so forth, it's almost like a drug in a way. It keeps you going on the days when you don't want to get out of bed.
hmm No, absolutely. And it's definitely infectious. And if you was there by yourself, you definitely wouldn't have the energy, with having everybody there because you bounce ideas.
Yeah,
And two, everybody likes to see everybody busy too.
right.
And, and it's just a good thing. And we create, community events. And I want to do more of trying to give to that community and dropping off meals throughout because Midtown is really good to entrepreneurs because all they're doing is trying to set a good platform for you to take your life. And then two, you want a relationship with Millsaps. That program right there is just a connecting tube as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. No, I think I was trying to think of where to start the interview officially with you. And I think the very beginning is the influence that your grandmother's had on you growing up on you wanting to cook and being a cook, but two, the time that you spent out with them, particularly, of course, your grandmother out in Edwards. You spent a little bit of time there. Tell us a little bit about your being a kid.
Being a kid was pretty relaxed. It wasn't a lot of stress. And it was, my grandfather, he ran a pulpwood business and all the men went out and stayed out. I mean, it was gone from 6 o'clock in the morning all the way till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So my grandmother had a lot of duties in there because she cooked 7 days a week too. So she needed help. I got two uncles, Tommy and Frank. They both can't hear or speak, but they're the muscle. Like when I tell you they're the muscle, they're the muscle. Tommy drives, Frank doesn't drive, but both kind of work the farm in a sense too. But me, little me, I'm the one that can go and chase dewberries off the fence line or dig potatoes up. I'll do all that stuff, go grab eggs. But, it's just so many great stories. But one great story that just sticks out about my grandmother as being a kid and just watching her. For one, I didn't know why this flower is everywhere. I'm not sure, but it just seems like she either it wasn't that bad, but I don't know what the outcome is about to be because she is slinging flour. I can hear her saying ouch and all that because she's dropping these mason jars in boiling water. And then she's telling me, you remember those dewberries that you got off the fence line? They're in this jar right here and now are preserves.
Oh,
But
wow.
like the next morning, you get up and she has all these cast iron skillets, these cast iron skillets coming to the breakfast table because she's feeding all the men. But you see all these wonderful golden and biscuits that has so much air in them and they're so fluffy. You grab one and you pop the top off of it just like a cap, and you take a spoon inside of that dewberry, those sour dewberry, that's turned into a preserve. You take that spoonful, put it in the middle of that biscuit, and you just eat it just like you're eating a sandwich. Then you get it. You get it. This is a labor of love. She put herself through all of that. And now look at what the outcome is at the dinner table. She has grown men that is going out and making money for the family. So in return, she's just doing her thing, but that's what she's good at. She's the best chef that I've ever known and probably ever will know. And I'll forever give her those kudos because it ain't many of us could do breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a family 7 days a week. And luckily now she have lived a lifestyle that has been so honored that she is 96. I have both of my grandmothers living, and
Oh,
it's
wow. Yeah.
the women in my family are so strong. They're just they're strong, even on just sitting down having a conversation, cooking, whatever it might be. It's just tough to envision that when you're not as motivated. Like she's doing this for a reason. She has a purpose in life,
Yeah.
and she ran that through and was very consistent at it too.
So it's kind of hard for you when you grow up in a situation like that not to have a purpose yourself. I mean, I've seen you. I mean, you've worked these really high profile, big jobs. You've been on television, everything else. But when I think of Nick Wallace, I think of you giving back to the community just as much as I do think of you being a hell of a cook who's been named best cook in Jackson and in Mississippi over and over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just one of those things, Marshall, that, I believe in Mississippi so much, but Mississippi deserves so much better.
Yeah.
And especially as a food state, like we really and truly do. And I understand the health, complexes of things, and that's going to apply from what they think Mississippi food really is. And I honestly don't believe that. Everybody have their stains of, cooking bad food in a sense. A lot of us not using, scratch cooking. Fast food is always going to be a thing. But, the one thing that, I believe we can always preach and all is just to be very honest to our craft, no matter what we do.
Yeah.
So what I try to do is I try to get out there as much as I can and just to put the spotlight on it because, every chef, every man, every woman, like we're not going to be here forever. And I want to be remembered. I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave financial structure, but two, I want to have an honest, very honest career as well. And I want to be able to do stuff for my neighbor. And that's how I was raised too. We grew up in this almost like a cul-de-sac in a way on the backside of Calamine Foods. And we was always sharing. So if we had, a bunch of greens or Miss Linda up the street had a lot of eggs, it was certain things that we may not pay attention as much because we're sharing. So everything has always been about watching out for your neighbors, investing into that. It's always been that. And then two, we was hidden from a lot of what they call the racism, the racist side of what they say Mississippi is. And I completely believe it. I've been through it, still go through it, all that. But my family was so smart by keeping us safe. Like we was on the backside of Edwards. We didn't have to go in town for much. And the reason why we had animals, the reason why we planted everything, it was for a reason. I didn't get that until I got older. She kept us safe. We didn't have to go. It wasn't gas station hopping, like that you see right now. Gas stations are a billion-dollar business. It's just a thing, but we didn't have that. We didn't have that atmosphere. And whatever you needed, you had to work for too, no matter if you had to walk or regardless of whatever it is, you had to work for. And there was a lot of respect too. You respected the elders. You respected the ones that worked hard. You respected the one that had passion. So I come from that side of things.
Well, I mean, you're a dad too, right? You've got, 3 kids?
Yeah, I actually have 6 kids.
You have 6 kids. Okay. So I missed by half. That's about my normal math skill.
Yeah. So yeah, and that is another thing too. I had a busy, childhood pretty much coming up.
Yeah.
My first daughter, I was 18 years old. I'm 42 now.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so that part too, like I wouldn't take anything back because I wouldn't be who I am right now.
That's right.
If I didn't be able to have that. And I lost my dad right before the pandemic. So that just inherits so much more. But see now, Marshall, the one thing now is pretty much all the elders of men in my family have all, left this earth.
Yeah.
My dad was pretty much the last one. So I don't have my grandfathers, I don't have uncles. So right now, I've always been that extension to an uncle or grandfather. So people look to me to almost be like that next kind of hope in a way. So it is a lot of pressure, and I'm definitely not letting that pressure bust my pipe. So when you see me out talking or on a show and all, my purpose is heavy, and I'm not here for no other reason but just to be a great reflection. I want to be a great example. I want to look the part. I want to talk the part. And I just want to be a that small part of Mississippi that can go out and just bring a little shining light.
You do that. You do that really well. I mean, you're a great ambassador for the state. You have been when you've been on the cooking shows too. And I know, and I just know from, doing national stuff too, people always have these built-in expectations of you because you're from Mississippi, And yeah, it's like I've got shoes. I don't have to wear them because it's like 75 degrees in the wintertime. But yeah, I've got, it's just stupid stuff. But didn't you face some of that when you they were like expecting you to cook with lard in a fryer and stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. And honestly, I was almost I was almost deflated in a way after the
Yeah,
first show that I did when I went to I had to go to Hollywood to do Cutthroat Kitchen with Alton Brown.
yeah,
And when I went there, it was this chef from upstate New York. And man, he did not, I mean, he wasn't, I don't know. I don't understand all the time of everybody's purpose, and I'm not gonna try to figure it out, but man, he was on me, and it wasn't really me. It was like where I'm from. It was definitely my skin color and all that, but it was
yeah.
more about where I'm from. Because he said that this whole show, Nick is going to be in front of the fryer the whole time.
Was he just trying to get in your head?
That too.
Yeah,
That too. But a lot of what I hear about people being, just really saying what really is on their heart, because it's hard for me to open up,
yeah,
Marshall, and scar you with some words if I didn't mean 10%
right.
of it. It's kind of hard for me to open it up because I believe, if you speak it, you kind of feel it in a way, then you
Yeah,
have to be there in some way. And I'm not going to say it's all the way because we all have made mistakes, but you got to be careful what you say.
right. Definitely. Well, and two, I mean, wait a minute. I've been a cartoonist for 25 years here, so I've been
You know?
I'm probably guilty of saying a few things that time. But I mean, like I said, you've done well. You did really well on Fire Masters. That had to be a lot more fun experience, I would imagine.
It was, and two, it was pretty much four
Yeah,
shows that of experience. And to be honest, I may came off a little bit as cocky, but I was so confident
yeah,
that the one thing I did not want to do is what I did on Chopped, and I'm thankful to be a Chopped champion, but what I did on Chopped was I got kind of hysterical in a way. I just thought that I had to be the first person to grab the onion. I had to be the first person to be at the cutting board. And then I look up at the clock, I'm almost done, and I still have 15 minutes left. Like I wasn't like being true to myself. Like if I understand my abilities and what I do, I don't have to do that. And because it works against me, like the hotel business. When I started in the hotel business, it taught me so much because you have people calling out, but you still have those 200 plated meals that
yeah.
you have to do. So I honestly, I could do the work of 3 or 4 people. I know I can. So I took kind of like that approach. I know the judges was really, on me. It's like, Nick don't want to run. No, I'm take my time. I'm gonna take my time. I'm gonna take my time and I'm gonna bring this home. And I was saying it, but I wanted to be one other thing I was saying is, I'm gonna be remembered, and that's one of my tokens of life. I will be remembered. I am going to be remembered, period.
I interviewed Bobby Rush earlier today. You
Yeah.
know, and I mean, to his credit, he's definitely going to be remembered partly because of longevity, but also because that he understood the business part of the show business, and he's taking care of business pretty well. And you're kind of doing that too. I mean, I get a sense that you want to be known as a chef, but you want to be known as more than that. And I mean, you can just kind of tell by all the different things you do that you've got a bigger picture in mind.
I have a huge picture, and I took chef out of my name a long time ago because I am, a lot more than that. The one thing I've never wanted to do was get put in a box that somebody wants to force me in. So
Yeah.
if I wanted to open up a restaurant, I could have opened up a restaurant in my 20s. I
Right.
could have took a restaurant and I could have focused on that ticket machine, and that could have been it for me. So I went completely like backwards in a way, but I went just my way. I didn't want to do that, and I've had a great journey, throughout life, but I have a lot of things business wise I am focusing on now. I have a custom ice cream scoop shop called Churn Creameries. We have a space in Renaissance right next to Black Market White House.
Nice.
I'm going to slate that to open up in December. And I had somebody to say, Nick, you don't look like you could be in the ice cream business. And I'm like, I don't know what being in the ice cream business look like.
Looks like.
So honestly, is that because I have so many great friends, so many smart people out there that we talk to, we mentor, we embarrass each other. We're honest. We're just respectful, but we try to just gain, success, because my success is the success of chefs, GMs, accountants. It's so many more. All those students and stuff that I'm hiring from Heinz.
Yeah.
That's just a reflection of people like gaining, and working for somebody maybe is a little different, because too, I believe as a Black man here in Mississippi, I believe we need to show like what we can do on a sophistication level when it comes down to food and service too, when it comes down to restaurant. I applaud everybody out there for what they do. I got favorites out there I love to go to. It's some icons of Jackson, Ridgeland, Mississippi as a whole has been doing great things for, decades. But I think in my culture and all, I don't want it to be like that, but it needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because the whole is going to get bigger, and it needs to get bigger. It can't be small. It can't be. And then two, I don't believe in bringing nobody under me that has leadership ability without giving them a piece of the pie too.
Right.
I just don't. I just want people to be able to work for something. I think you're going to feel good when you go home. I think you're going to feel good for the upcoming holiday season. I think your family is going to love what you do. I think it's going to be a reflection of your energy. You're going to respect the product. You're going to respect the guests. You're going to respect your staff. You're going to start finding like-minded people like you. And I expect anybody to not be in your same position in 6 to 12 months too. And if you are, maybe that's who you are. But honestly, I'm looking for a little bit more than that. I just want to motivate people.
You mentioned Heinz. That's where you got your degree from. And that's kind of what taught you the business part. At what age did you wake up and say, you know what, I want to cook. I want to go into the food business?
I immaturely said that when I was 15.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what I was going to get myself into. And I started working for Fernando's on Lake Harbor when it was Fernando's. I think
right.
It's Cinco de Mayo now. But I started working for that family, and I washed dishes for a while. And then I moved up to chopping onions and bell peppers. That's all I did for 6 months. And then I got to get on the line, and seeing that culture cook food and move, it's just like a symphony. Like, I'm serious, man. They are talking, they're all dancing around the kitchen in the same form. And yes, they have just processes, they get your food out in 8 minutes. I think it's super quick, but I respect it though. That's what it is. And you could be in and out of there, within 30 minutes if you want to, for lunch or dinner. It doesn't matter.
Your history of working in the different hotels in the area, and I guess you worked at the Marriott, you worked at the Hilton there, you worked at the King Edward. I have spoken, I think, every place you've ever worked and had your hotel food, and I can tell you, I'm always happy to eat whenever you're someplace. I was always happy. I was like, oh, good, Nick's in charge. This is going to be pretty good. There is a fine art when you're trying to feed 200 people to try to figure out how to season it properly and how to be able to get it, and you got to get it out in a certain amount of time. How did you pick up that skill to be able to literally, I would think that's pretty close to a miracle to be able to get out 200 to 300 plates in a 15 to 20 minute period.
Look, I had some really good teachers out there. I had some really good chefs. Dave Romans, he was my chef at the Marriott before I actually took exec chef. The only reason he gave me an opportunity because I told him in a year's time, I'm going to take your job, so you need to find you somewhere else to go. That's what I said to him at the interview. And he wasn't from Mississippi, and he didn't find that threatening because I wasn't, saying that I just wanted you to just quit.
Yeah.
The company is big enough for you to grow. Go find you something else to do. The guy was overqualified for what he was doing. So I came up very aggressive. He taught me so much. And one thing I love, he stayed on my neck for every single thing. But the biggest thing he taught me is learn how to write all the time.
Really?
Learn how to write all the time, though. Everybody can write their order sheet down, or maybe a couple topics of what you need to do, your to-do list, but write every single thing down. write all your steps. Okay, you got a party tomorrow. I need to see your 10 steps of what you're going to take from
Wow.
the beginning of ordering, from then receiving, then executing the prep, who all is going to prep it, how long is it going to take them to do what, and if anything needs a HACCP plan or whatever, I need that too. And then two, the defined time of holding, to executing conveyor belts. Now you're talking about conveyor belts working 5 chefs on each side. So you're working with 10 chefs, and you're having 2 to 3 stewards on the end that's going to do white, and they're going to be doing lid. And then they got one is going to be checking the temperatures of the box, and all they're doing is rolling the boxes up and getting them into all the locations that you spot out on your full execution sheet. But 2, working with 10 chefs, everybody has to be in sync. 2, you act a lot too. So we act things out before we even go to the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
It may take us 30, 40 minutes, but we act things out and we go through that. And if we don't have synergy, and if somebody is having a bad day, or somebody got kicked out of their house, whatever the case might be, you don't have a team. So it's just a lot that you have to do with coaching and counseling, but 2, just being there for people too, before you even get to the point of serving good food. It's just a lot, in there. I've listened to so many problems, from folks, and then probably vice versa, that you just gotta, it's just more than about cooking. It's way more than cooking. But when you get to that love and that respect, that food is so much better if you didn't know that person.
That's awesome, Nick. I was about to say, if you didn't have a plan and you didn't attack it with a plan, I would think that it would. There was a I Love Lucy episode where they're doing the conveyor belt and it gets too fast for them and it just becomes chaos. I think you'd last about a week in the business if you didn't have that kind of organization, because it would be disaster.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about Marriott and Hilton is really not about the food quality as far as their perspective. It's about numbers.
Yeah.
Everything is about numbers, and that's the good thing about it, is because they can teach you how to stay in the business. I'm very fortunate that I've been in the business for this long, and I've been guided, I've been taught, I've been all that. Now I'm running it for myself. So it's just going to be such a great honor to just see what the next 3-4 years look like. Since we last chatted, I've started a partnership with Uncle Ben's Rice.
What? Congratulations! Yeah.
Uncle Ben's went through that whole issues of Black Lives Matter and all that stuff there. So they have changed their name to Ben's Original.
Mm-hmm.
And they were looking for a couple faces to be their front image. And Marcus Samuelson took one side and I took the other one.
That's great.
And we're just, it's just great to be from Mississippi and have folks call you and say, hey, can you represent my product? It's just an honor. But I tell people, Mississippi is very, very infectious though.
Yeah.
You have to get out there and see it. Get outside of Mississippi. That's the only how you're going to truly know, how much you really truly know how much you respect and love where you're from. I've been out there. I love where I'm from. I love it.
I'm there with you, Nick. I really am. It's one of the things that in the 25 years I've lived here, it's like we have such a great creative community here, whether it's musicians, artists, writers, chefs, it's like we all kind of get along and respect what the other person does, and it helps them. And, and I think about your mentors, and I think about people that I call friends that I can pick up the phone with, even if I'm having a bad day or I'm frustrated. It's like, hey, it's this common thing. And you mentioned, a couple mentors that you had. Who are some people now that you really respect in Mississippi that that you can pick up the phone and talk to, that can give you a lift when you're having a rough day?
One that I started off with that, he gave me a job at Schimmel's when he was first opening up Schimmel's, which was awesome. I believe I called Derek Emerson. I believe he'll sit down and talk. And I've always respected him. And, And yeah, he's a success of us, period. As on the business side, chef side, leaders, national recognition. The guy has the list. So I respect that. Others is I got LeBron Alexander. He's actually got out of the freestanding restaurant world, and he's the exec chef of Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah.
And really respect what he's doing now, because every chef or anybody can't really pivot their style of cooking to master another company in a way. LeBron has been cooking one way for pretty much his whole life, and I'm saying one way as far as flavor and techniques. Now he is leading up the realm at Blue Cross Blue Shield, and he is bringing healthy like no other. I respect that for so many employees, and they're lifting him up too. And yeah, he is definitely a true pioneer when it comes down to that. Very true.
I definitely respect the healthy eating aspect. I know I try to eat healthy, and when I do, my face is thinner than it is right now, sort of thing. I do respect the fact that you have, like I said, been a philanthropist and given back so much to the kids. And I think, I was thinking about that when you were talking about your story growing up, eating good food and taking good food from the garden to the kitchen to the table. And Creativity Kitchen, tell us a little bit about that, because it's been a nonprofit that you've had to be able to help kids in Jackson and in Mississippi be able to do just that, to understand how to eat well.
Yeah, so this was about 6 years ago. So I was having a conversation with Mary Hill. She was the food service director for Jackson Public School at the time. And I had just came off my, cutthroat kitchen. I think I maybe had done one chop. She wanted me to come to the Marriott and pass out awards to her cafeteria workers. So all the cafeteria workers in all 30 schools or whatever they got. So I said, yeah. She wanted me to be the keynote speaker, motivate them. So me and her had sat down a lot that day, and we did a lot of talking. And the one thing I asked her is, it's like, Mary Hill, would you mind if I come inside one of your schools and just kind of feel around and maybe create a couple things? She was like, go have fun with it. She said, what school you want to go to? I said, well, I graduated from Blackburn Middle School. Let's do that. So I went there, got to know them all, and man, they got so much energy back there in that kitchen. I told them not to call themselves cafeteria workers no more. Call yourself chefs, regardless of how it's going. You're cooking out a combi oven now versus a fryer. Put some respect on your name, and that kind of thing. So I got into Blackburn. In 30 days, I created Creativity Kitchen. And this was all done in partnership with the Museum of Art too, and Julian Rankin. Julian Rankin had a lot to do for my success when I was at the Museum of Art, because I was there for 6 years. We had so much fun. But that guy right there, I wish he was still close to me. I know he's in, I believe, Ocean Springs now. That guy is so talented. So we created Creativity Kitchen, created the logo, the concept and all that was great. So we launched that into Blackburn, and we tried to define exactly what it is. But one thing I wanted was for the kids to go through their home, over the weekends. And I wanted them to come and see me on Monday. They come and see me for breakfast. When they walk in for breakfast, they're going to see all the stuff on the walls, all the tent cards on the tables, the tablecloths, everything. And they're going to read the menu. And they're going to get super excited about lunch, because when they come to lunch, they're going to have a custom menu. They're going to have a custom menu. I brought dessert back. I had 10% of the food purchases had to be from local farms, which was mostly Cindy Ayers at Footprint Farms. And we started. We started off with veggie pizza. We started off with homemade meatballs. It was all kinds of stuff that we did. So it was such a big hit. It only lasted about maybe a month before all 13 of the middle schools just said, you know what? let's close this down if you're not going to put it in all the middle schools.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those things that I had to figure out how we're going to do this. Mary Hale, all of her team had so many great ideas. So we met at a different location every 3 weeks, all the cafeteria folks. We met there, went through all of my specification books. We cooked together, we talked about it all, and then everybody went to their places and they executed the menu. We had the order guides together, all that. So we successfully did that for 2 straight years. 2 straight years.
That's incredible.
So now going into a grocery store, you know, you're getting hugged by the knees from, you know, kids or being respected by their parents and all. And they're just like, thank you. They're in there shopping, talking about their menus and all that. And then it started blowing up from there. And it started being a lot of national recognition. I got invited to the White House calendar, which, you know, Michelle Obama created, Chef Moves to School. So they inducted me in there for Mississippi. So I got a chance to accept that award and then, you know, have an official calendar, which was super nice. But then the national exposure started. Gaston, Alabama public school systems, Erlanger and Hazard, Kentucky school systems wanted me to come down, spend some time there and implement Creativity Kitchen there. I went down months at a time, implementing Creativity Kitchen, got volunteers. We drove down in my Suburban. We stayed as long as we possibly could. Kentucky is no joke to drive. I'll never do that again. I would never do that again. But it was great. I got to see some, you know, kids outside of Mississippi, food service, you know, directors and workers outside of Mississippi, but they was just as excited as us.
Yeah.
So the one thing I wanted to do Creativity Kitchen like hotels. In hotels, Marriott, at a corporate level, what they do is they create specification books. They take pictures, they have the nutritional facts, and then they send all the videos and all that, and they send it out to all their hotels, send it out all to the chefs, food and beverage directors. They have it all broken down from banquets to what the restaurant needs to be themed at, everything. It's dummy proof. But I wanted to do that for the school system too, including sending them a TV. So all they have to do at each school, they can do their own training. They have their own books they can go back and look at. Everything is already checkmarked from the USDA as far as all the guidelines. Then we can go from talking about just doing it in the middle school. We could talk about the whole Jackson Public Schools, but we're not just talking about Jackson Public Schools because I think it'll be easy for it to get in the whole entire state of Mississippi public schools. And I just think it's a great thing, you know? It's like they took salt away from the schools many years ago. And I'm not trying to bust nobody's bubbles right now but they secretly still try to season the food. And I'm sure it's not a secret, but you know, the one thing I want to do at the state level, which I don't mind, is going up and talking about these things. Yeah. You know, I want to look at nutrition. Let's talk. Like we can have a debate, but let's talk about this. So you want to take all this away. So everybody hates everything. So the employees are trying to bring back and get their attention. So they're trying to do what they think in their mind is the best thing to do and catch their taste buds by throwing that sodium. So why we just can't meet each other in the middle? It's a lot of creative ways you can do to make your taste bud not, you know, it doesn't have to recognize salt as sodium though. You know, it could be dried lemons, you know, it could be the acidity can match almost just like that on your taste buds. But anyway, it's a lot of things we could do, but I wanted to get that technical with it all because I just think that we deserve to do that. They do it in London, you know, they do it in all these other places. I just think we deserve it, just like we deserve Satsuma juice. We don't deserve everything coming from Florida. We have muscadines. We have sweet potato crops. We should be leading baby food here. You know, it's so many things on that side too that we can do to put this money back in Mississippi too. So that's where my mind is now on being 42, been in the business for a while. So me opening up a business and all, you think I really was a shining star 10 years ago. See who I am right now.
Now, I'm about to say, like I said, I followed your career fairly closely over the years. I like what you're doing right now. I think it's and it sounds like that same process that you learned in the hotel on how to be able to handle 200 plates at the same time. It's almost the same thing that you're doing every morning. You're writing everything down that you've got to do that day. You're creating a plan because there is no way, humanly way possible that one person can do all the stuff that you're doing unless you pretty much lay it out ahead of time and rehearse and have a plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. No, you got to have a plan. Like, this is not staged, but this is all me. This
Oh,
is what
wow.
I do. I
Okay.
just write, as much stuff as I possibly can. But the one thing I do want to try to focus on too is
Sure.
some type of chef alliance here in Mississippi too. I think we deserve it because it's a lot of topics that we need to talk about because we know we're not technically a food state, which we need to be. And it's a lot of things we could do to cross utilize and do to continue to survive this pandemic too. Because things are not the best in the restaurant industry right
No, no, I mean, I've talked to everybody from Jeff Good to Robert St. John to Tom Ramsey, to everybody who's had to somehow figure out how to make this through business wise. That was a question I was gonna ask you. How have you made it through the pandemic? Because it's been absolutely abysmal for the food service business.
Yeah, so right before the pandemic, I wanted to open up this. I'm gonna open up a true Nick's True Farm to Table restaurant, and I wanted to do that leading up to the pandemic. So leading up to the pandemic, everything just went silent. And then we get back to it. All the prices are jacked up. Things are different. People are thinking things through. I really wanted to open it up at Julep location at the Highland Village, but it just didn't work out. But um, so my thought process was when I put my pen down to the paper is what am I doing well and what am I being profitable on that I can pretty much take care of my family.
Right.
It's catering. I'm very lucky that I started to catering as from my hands to your kitchen because we had the biggest year that we have ever had last year.
Oh, wow.
I
Wow.
was doing I was doing 7 to 10 events a week. And what I did was too, Marshall, it was planning out, the event, knowing that I have to be at the first one at 5 o'clock. They wanted 3 courses. They're gonna eat at 5:15. So we're gonna get there at 4:30. We're gonna start this setup and that setup. Everything is 80% cooked. We're gonna do that. We got the really good cooler sitting in the van. We need to be 2.5 hours. We need to be in Reunion. So we're gonna knock this out. We'll be done with this at 6:15. We got to be over at Reunion by 6:45. We're gonna serve dinner at 8 o'clock, and we're gonna do 4 courses over there. And we're gonna set up a bar. We're bringing in the plates. We're bringing in everything. They have music, but they're doing it very intimate with just the people they stay there and our mask and everything else, like we didn't play.
Yeah.
Very fortunate, I never had COVID. I got the shot and all, but I never had COVID. And my family didn't want me to do it, but it was safe, but it was just so good too because I was doing restaurant numbers on wheels.
Yeah.
I bought another catering van during the pandemic, and that's how good it was going. Got it wrapped and everything. It was just a good thing, and but we did some good numbers.
Well, Nick, I mean, like I said, that doesn't surprise me that you've had that success. But I mean, the thing, like I said, you have always been very resilient and been able to say, okay, this isn't working well over here. I'm going to go over here. I mean, I was really looking forward to you getting the restaurant in the federal building. That fell through, but then you were able to pivot and move on to another direction. And it sounds, I mean, this is just good advice for anybody who's watching this.
Yeah, yeah, and things happen for a reason.
Right.
But yes, Lunette, partnering with Jeff and Dan and Grady, that was going to be the best restaurant that Mississippi has seen. It was going to be Dan. I get along with Dan. I get along with all of them, but Dan, I get along with Dan because I learned so much from him. He's
Yeah.
a lot older than me. He has so much experience. He's so radical when it's time to press go, but the most impressive thing I like about him is the times leading up before and after it, though. You
Yeah.
know, because the middle part is he's got skills. He's been in the game. He's been, all over the world. He's got that part. But if you focus on his beginning and ending, it's pretty damn amazing. Like Dan finishes well.
Yeah.
And yeah, he finishes very well.
That's hard. Let me ask you this real quick. When you're coming up with the Nissan Cafe and you're going to put it for a crowd that comes to the museum, how do you decide on a menu? How do you decide on who you're serving and what do you think they're going to eat and what level of sophistication the food's going to have? I mean, do you do chicken fingers and fries, or you do something with a little bit more, maybe different, a little more flair? How do you come up with that menu?
So the cafe menu is complete. So it's a menu that stays there in the cafe, but you also have tour groups, could be kids, could be adults, and kids of all ages. So what I'm doing is like different tiers. So if it's a group of high school kids coming in there, maybe they're going to have the, pressed brisket, because we are rolling with panini grills and all that stuff there. But maybe they're going to get the pressed brisket with, some fig and tomato marmalade that's on there, and cheddar cheese and all that, because I think that can resonate with them and will capture them just like that. Now, the younger kids and all, we're playing with their food just a little bit less in a way that we're doing, turkey, but we're still highlighting everything.
Yeah.
But kids, we are very careful with mayo looked ingredients, because that's probably one of the things that we get in trouble with the most. If you think you can feed a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old just like you do a high school student, it just don't work out like that. So we have just different tiers, and then the adults, we just handle them like we do everybody else. So it's different price points for them, and we do bag or box depending what it is. But I just want you to understand that the Nissan Cafe does not have a Hood in there. When they first built that building, which I hated, but they did not build that space for production.
Right.
They built it just almost like a coffee shop. That's all it is. Tables, no ventilation. That's what it is. So when I thought about this opportunity and wrote menus that can hold a lot of great product out there. You got Turbo Chef's ovens that sit on top of a table. You have panini grills. We have induction burners. So I didn't want anything to miss a beat. I want people to think that we have every single equipment just as well as Bravos do when you sit down. So that's what we're kind of focused on to bring there, but with a lot of great ingredients, because you can get everything beet related, watermelon radish. You can get some really good Gulf shrimp that's wrapped in a flatbread with pickled black-eyed pea relish. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
I tell you just touched on Gulf shrimp. I don't think people in Mississippi realize how good we have it when it comes to seafood.
Yeah.
You move inland just a little bit, you suddenly discover that, ooh, the shrimp's really gross and so forth. So, but we are blessed here to have really good ingredients.
Yeah, and we are. And I think having that Chef's Alliance too, we can teach a lot more, because I'm not going to always have to answer Derek, Dan, Jesse Houston. Nobody's always going to have all the right answers, but it's a lot that we can do to empower the state and to drop costs too.
Yeah.
If all of us are supporting like-minded companies around Mississippi, we can negotiate a lot better, and we can get things. So that's one of the things that I want to do, because you picked off of it about the entrepreneurship. We got some very talented people here.
Yeah, we really do. Really do. And I mean, they talk about brain drain, but obviously we got to create an environment to keep people here. And that's the kind of thing I think that when we all start working together, that's what keeps people here. Mm-hmm. Just a hunch. Nick, don't want to take too much more of your time, but I mean, obviously, I could talk to you all night about this. This is great. Now I'm getting hungry though. That's the only problem. I'm gonna have to go get something to eat here in a second, talking about food. You, you've been on the, I was going to ask you one more question about the TV shows and everything. I mean, what's that like behind the scenes? Or do they just edit the daylights out of those to where they create a narrative, or is it what you're seeing is pretty much what you're seeing on those shows?
What you're saying is true. All the times are true. When it's time to start cooking, if it says 30, if it's 30 minutes, it's definitely a true 30 minutes.
Right.
The only thing that probably would enlighten people is when you first start shooting, you're shooting like at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you're actually going to start before you do any kind of cooking. You're going to start shooting your exit before you do anything else. So think about that big bad Marshall Ramsey is coming in there to compete against Joe Schmo and Eric Sherman, and he's going head to head. But the first thing we need y'all to do is we need y'all to show that y'all just lost. We need y'all to frown, even want to cry. And we need y'all to walk the shame and look right into the camera and make sure that they know that, you know what I'm saying? Like, do whatever you want. So you got to go through all that first because they want to get that out the way. Because sometimes you just don't know how people feel once they lose. It's so let's get that out the way. But other than that, it's pretty much all about those camera men and women are so fast. You have about 12 to 18 cameras that's circling around you the whole time. You have prop cameras that's throughout the top of the stove and all. They're not missing anything. And then two, you got to go back to sequester and you have to speak throughout your whole dish too in this blacked out room. So you could try to leave out onions and you may have forgotten because you're tired, frustrated, whatever it might be, but they are recording. You have like dozen people just recording every single ingredient, everything you touch. You touch the blender for 3 seconds and you started chopping the beets and then you cut your hand. So at that point, when you cut your hand, you lost everything and you just started over with this watermelon. Like they know all the steps. Yeah. So you got to go through the whole show. If you leave, be the first one to leave, you got to go through all your moments. But if you win, you're there from 5 o'clock in the morning to midnight and for a 30, 40-minute show. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long day. That's a long day. Last, I guess, couple more questions. If you're gonna, my dad had a car garage growing up, and he loved working on cars. But he had a car garage, and after a few years, our cars didn't run so well because he didn't want to come home and work on the cars, because it was just like you've been doing that all day. When you come home, do you feel like cooking? And when you do, what's your favorite meal to cook for your family?
Honestly, I do. I cook more. I cook so much when I get off work, and it's because too. I have my favorites out there too. I don't mind going to go get me a 3-piece white from Popeyes and and driving a long way home. I don't mind doing that at all. But I really and truly love coming home and cooking too. Yeah. That's and the only reason I don't mind it at all, because like I just told you about my grandmother, I've been seeing that since I was a young boy. And she just didn't show that she did not love it. She was not, she was not in a bad mood because she was making spaghetti. She just wasn't, and she cooked happy. And that's the reason why I think she's the best chef on this earth. So one of my go-tos is spaghetti is one. I don't eat it as much, but I wish I had a bowl right now. The other one is I like soups. I love soups. Yes, because it cleans up everything out the fridge. I love soups. And it could be vegetarian, it could be meat, but I love soups. I love soups with meatballs in there too. Lamb meatballs, chicken, turkey, beef. I do. I completely love it. And then two, I love fried rice. And that's probably one of my things that I will do a lot easier because I will keep some type of rice in my fridge that has been stale. And you see all that Uncle Ben's behind me too, so you know the truth on the rice.
Yeah.
So fried rice is like, man, I love making fried rice. I had this Asian to tell me that, somebody must have taught me how to fry rice because like I'm not just frying rice really quick. Like I am caramelizing it on high heat, and I'm moving it the whole time. Like I'm putting in butternut squash, I'm putting in sweet potatoes, crookneck squash, onions, peppers, like mushrooms. Like when I eat fried rice, it's gonna have 12 ingredients in there. Now I can sit there and get me a thing of sriracha and just eat a bowl of that. I am in hog heaven. Hog heaven.
Okay, thanks. Now I'm starved. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, I was seeing the boxes in the back. I was like, Nick, are they paying you in product? Is that how that works? You have like a garage full of rice now?
So I had to do this live streaming for them. Because
Yeah.
the one part of this is employee morale too for Ben's Original. So I just cooked for all of their employees in Canada. So I had to check that off the list because I've never had 700 and something people looking at me through a screen.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I cooked for them and, told them my story, played a few games with them, and just showed them how we do it in the South. And they love it too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Just one note I read where, of course, when you first got invited up to the two museums, I guess that was the point you cooked for Merle Evers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to meet her. Oh man, it probably was 15, 20 years ago. And that was one of the coolest moments because I mean, number one, I love the whole Evers family. To a person, they're just incredibly kind and generous and wonderful. But that had to be a really big thrill for you, didn't it? Getting to cook for her.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. They've always genuinely hugged me. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
and that's the good thing about Mississippi too. Like
Yeah.
they don't even have to open their mouth up. Their approach, it's like Marriott. Marriott has a 15-5 rule. And 15 feet, it's things you have to do as far as, eye contact, and there's certain things you have to do to nod your head. And then 5, you have to embrace, you have to pretty much get ready for it. I felt that from day one before I even knew them from the Evers family. They came into the cafe today and showed nothing but love, taking pictures and bringing me T-shirts and all about how proud they are and how proud that I am building a legacy for me, my family, being centered around great people that I work with. And I'm doing it without spotlighting it with dangerous words from Mississippi, and I'm kind of, sick of it in a way because I think, like my grandmother always says, you need to put up, you know what I'm saying? You have to put up, put up your efforts. Stop your mouth from going, but put up your efforts, because it'll silence anything, so ain't no place perfect, no place at all. But I could tell you what, I get more respect than anything else in my life. I can definitely tell you that.
I can easily say that you've earned it. So, I mean, I'll throw that out there real quick. But Nick, I am very proud that I'm proud of you. I'm just happy for you that you've got this success going. Is there anything else that you've got up coming in the future that you can mention that you're up to?
So I got something very special, man, that's gonna be so great for Mississippi, and I wish I could tell you even a little piece of it, but I can't.
That's okay. When you do, I'll shout it to the rooftops.
Oh yeah, and I can't wait. But the one thing that I need you to do is I want to be a cartoon one day.
I know somebody who can take care of that for you.
Yeah. Pass the word, around. I would love to be a cartoon one day.
Okay, I definitely will make that happen. I can do that.
Yeah,
Nick,
sounds good.
Nick, I'll throw your website in the comments section of the article, and I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you, Marshall. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Take care.
All right, you too.